First, I guess I want to tell you a little bit about who you are. This is the largest meeting that we've ever had. I think by the end of the week we'll have over 15,000 people that come. About 14,000 now. Isn't that amazing? You come from 126 countries. You represent almost every discipline, almost every kind of human endeavor that's taking place in the world today. You're diverse. You speak many languages. About a third of you are from outside the U.S. And for those of you who are, I want to take a moment and say, welcome here to our meeting. About a third of you are here for the first time, which is really amazing, don't you think? Welcome to you also. During this meeting, there's a huge opportunity to make some new friends, make new relationships that will matter. And it's my feeling that relationships are how it all works. They're certainly the secret for success in our lives. They're the things that glue us together. We can create things, we can have good ideas, all those sorts of wonderful things. Love, happiness, success in our professions. It comes from that. Sense of the breadth of this common language that we are working with, geography and GIS. About a month ago, I began a process. It's called the deep dive process. It involves all of the people in my organization, but also engaging with you, getting lots of feedback, questionnaires, that sort of thing. It's a difficult time. But one of the lifetimes of that for me is looking at your work, because you send me thousands of maps and I have to sort through them, and I select a few and I throw a lot on the floor. Not that the ones on the floor are bad, but the ones that I'm going to show you are ones that for some reason or other I just picked. And they represent kind of a cross-section of your work. Some of you are monitoring environmental change, sea level rise, deforestation, beach erosion, and droughts through time. And others of you are exploring GIS in a new field, GIS in the oceans, building base maps, bathymetry, studying species diversity, and a new field of marine spatial planning, applying what we do on the land surface out into the oceans. Others of you are managing natural resources, forests, biomass inventories, managing groundwater, and looking under the ground at geology, looking for exploration geology so we can see what's potential for mining or extraction, and also habitats. And these are in almost every country, reflecting the kind of audience that's here. Others are developing energy, both in traditional space like oil and gas exploration, but also on new frontiers like geothermal, wind, biofuels, solar, at all kinds of scales. And many of you are planning for the future, economic development futures, land use planning, the assessment of the environment and land use, conservation planning, designing bike routes, doing urban redevelopment, even planning for the great Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. Just profound work. And we're beginning to track everything, tracking ships, tracking aircraft, tracking trains, tracking people. This neat little example in the lower left is by Rami Alley, trip planning, using GIS as a foundation. Managing utilities and telecommunications is a long and traditional system, but it's exploding with visualization showing us, for example, broadband coverage or speed. Many of you have seen the AT&T maps showing coverage. They're made with, I'm very proud to say, ArcGIS. Well, it's fun. Some of you are designing things like fiber networks, managing electrical utilities, and these examples in Hong Kong, again, with handheld devices, show inspections of water lines and networks and facilities. GIS is moving into building space, taking the power of spatial analysis into 3D buildings, integrating building information models with the power of GIS. And
We have some powerful visualizations here, like the mosque in Mecca and the new World Cup facility in Moscow. But this isn't just about visualization, it's about analytics. The Green Building Council, looking at my old alma mater, Harvard, is looking at green buildings and analyzing them. We're seeing users take it and do emergency response, wind modeling, energy assessments. Very powerful work. We're providing situation awareness, you are, to local emergencies and regional emergencies and global conflicts that are underway. Improving business management. Businesses are getting more engaged in this technology. They're getting the geographic advantage. They're looking at competition, at market assessments, at trends, where best to locate. And a new field is emerging called geo-business intelligence, using maps as an extension to the business intelligence world. And we're beginning to understand better, using GIS, the patterns of census in India, in Brazil, in Europe, in the US, and so on. And this same technology is being used to give us insights into disease, tracking patterns of disease, where it occurs, and also service delivery. The lower map on the right here is physician visits as part of the Dartmouth Atlas, showing how we engage with healthcare providers. GIS has a long history, and your work here in law enforcement and public safety shows how important it is for things like fire or crime analysis, providing executive dashboards and analytics for catching bad guys, or also tracking emergency vehicles, managing traffic, crime mapping. These very important maps are about planning for and responding to natural disasters, fires, earthquakes, floods. This year, in a few minutes, we'll acknowledge somebody very important who was key in making maps and GIS about the tsunamis and earthquakes and subsequent radiation exposures in Japan. But I'm particularly also fond of this new little app that reads the USGS quake information and puts it into an iPad so that any citizen can look and check it out, what they do with the weather. Kind of fun. Engaging citizens with crowdsourcing information, looking through these thousands of maps, this is a new trend, and you're learning how to do it. Take feedback from citizens, whether it's street light outage or storm damage or storm reporting or sharing video about the earthquake. These are all coming back to government and responders in effect. Actually, beyond maps, a lot of you sent me images of the kind of infrastructure designs that you're doing. This sort of the pink thing that's there is from the Canton of Zurich, a completely integrated enterprise system who's built infrastructure into every aspect of local government. And also similarly in Bogota and Singapore, whole countries. And actually whole countries like China have implemented complete spatial data infrastructure in every department, and they're using it to do national planning. And this is going on in Russia. It's beginning in the US. It's going on in Europe. It's going on in, well, beginning to go on in Indonesia. And the Prime Minister is behind it in India with a major commitment there, infrastructure, or I like to call it national GIS. It's a little more appropriate. It's not just an infrastructure, but it's an information system.